actually have targeted tourism as one area that has potential to make a significant contribution, and a lot of policies have been suggested to get the tourism product back on track.
It certainly seems the tourists who've made it here like the island experience.
It's quite clear that they're suffering at the moment. I think that obviously after the boom there's become a very, very quick bust, but we've really enjoyed the culture of the place.
I really like all the green grasses around the city, and I really think the Irish people is really friendly.
Everywhere we go, it's beautiful, and I would definitely come back again.
So it's up to the next leaders of this country, whoever they may be, to make sure there are enough tourist dollars to get Ireland moving again. Rory Challens, Al Jazeera, Dublin.
Well, it's NASA's oldest and most well-travelled spacecraft. Now the shuttle Discovery is blasted off on its final mission. An estimated 40,000 people gathered at Cape Canaveral in Florida to watch the launch. Stephanie Scowen reports.
2, 1. Booster ignition and the final liftoff of Discovery.
Blasting off on its final journey, NASA's most well-travelled spacecraft heads off into space. This launch marks the beginning of the end of the shuttle era.
Discovery now making one last reach for the stars.
The oldest of the 3 remaining shuttles, Discovery will be the first to be decommissioned after the 11-day mission. Discovery's final journey, though, has been much delayed. It was originally due to take off in November, but was postponed after problems were discovered with the fuel tank. A last-minute technical glitch almost grounded this flight too, but NASA engineers solved the problem with seconds to spare.
Throttling down as the orbiter passes.
The shuttle is carrying equipment for the International Space Station, as well as an experimental humanoid robot. For the remaining 2 spacecraft, Endeavour's final flight is due in April, with the Space Shuttle mission ending next summer with Atlantis. For now, though, all systems are go for Discovery.
Space Shuttle Discovery now in space.
Stephanie Scowen, Al Jazeera.
Well, let's just remind you can keep up to date with all the news by following our website. The address there, aljazeera.net/English. This is Al Jazeera, and these are the stories making the headlines now. Residents of Benghazi say these pictures obtained by the Reuters news agency are of mercenaries hired by Muammar al-Gaddafi to crack down on protesters. Libya's embattled leader is blaming Osama bin Laden and al-Qaeda for fueling the uprising against him. He made the claim in his second address to the nation since the protests began. Meanwhile, there's been heavy fighting in the town of Zawiya, 50 kilometers west of the capital. Fighting there between forces loyal to Gaddafi and the opposition. Further to the west, police and soldiers have reportedly deserted Gaddafi's regime in the town of Zuwara. The opposition says it's now in control. With oil prices around 2.5-year high, the US president is trying to calm fears they'll soar even higher. Barack Obama says he's expecting to be able to ride out the crisis in Libya. Saudi Arabia says it can help counter supply disruptions. And in other news, in northwest Pakistan, another convoy of NATO fuel tankers has been attacked. At least 4 people were killed in Peshawar. Up to 25 trucks bound for Afghanistan were set ablaze at a NATO terminal. Iraq's government has imposed a curfew in Baghdad before planned demonstrations later on Friday. Prime Minister Noor al-Maliki is urging people not to take part, warning they could be attacked by al-Qaeda. Well, thousands of people unhappy with the performance of their new government are expected to rally. After 4 days of searching in New Zealand, hopes of finding more earthquake survivors are now fading. The number of people killed in Christchurch is 113, with more than 200 still missing. Rescue teams are scouring the rubble, but the threat of aftershocks is hampering the operation. Julian Assange has condemned the extradition system as unfair. The WikiLeaks founder says he'll appeal after a British judge ruled he can be extradited to Sweden. He's accused of rape and sexual assault there. His lawyers argue he won't get a fair trial. Boeing has beat Airbus to a $35 billion contract with the US Air Force. Pentagon officials said Boeing would be awarded an initial $3.5 billion to deliver and design 18 refueling tanker jets in 6 years' time. Well, it's People and Power next. Stay with us.
Hello everyone, this is People in Power and I'm Summer El-Shahat. On today's programme, Yemen's Pied Piper of Jihad.
Of Yemeni descent but American-born, cleric Anwar al-Awlaki is the first US citizen ever placed on his country's official assassination list. With his perfect English, Anwar al-Awlaki's internet sermons preach contempt for non-believers or kuffar.
The important lesson to learn here is never, ever trust al-kuffar.
In recent weeks, Yemen has seen its fair share of the anti-government demonstrations sweeping across the Middle East. Its protesters' demands ranging from modest political reform to the resignation of President Ali Abdullah Saleh. If the government there does fall, it will be a blow to many Western nations. They see the country as a key ally in the struggle against al-Qaeda, which has thrived in Yemen's remote regions and feeds off its instability. There's an unrelated rebellion in the north, a secessionist movement in the south, and immense poverty throughout. But as Australian journalist Trevor Borman discovered, the Yemeni regime's cooperation with the West has contributed to a closed and repressive society. The authorities have become deeply mistrustful of outsiders, among them foreign Muslims, which in turn may have fueled the appeal of the al-Qaeda operation now based there. The film was made before Yemen's most recent protests broke out.
For centuries, this breathtaking land has drawn adventurers from afar. But now some who travel here do so in stealth. They have a calling they'd like to keep from the outside world. This poorest of Arab nations has become al-Qaeda's new frontier and a launching pad for jihadi-inspired terrorism. In an atmosphere of distrust, foreigners and Yemenis alike are being watched. And those suspected of collaborating with the enemy can very quickly wind up in a chaotic courtroom. It's Judgment Day in the country's latest terror trial, and the young prisoner is a dubious jihadi. 19-year-old Hisham Assam has already confessed to killing his employer, a Frenchman. He appears amused by all the attention. Hisham Assam's counsel says he's a most unlikely terrorist and that the court has not heard the full story.